Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the NECA Toys Terminator Power Arm Terminator, one of their incredible homages to Kenner toys. That is right, my friends. I am a big fan of NECA's homages to the original Kenner line because those Kenner lines are the ones that I grew up with. And Power Arm Terminator here is one that I was really looking forward to. You see, this particular Terminator figure in the vintage line, I think a lot of us probably used as a main Terminator action figure. But of course, like Kenner did in those days, they made him look, well, a little different than he appeared in the movie. They gimmicked him up with some new stuff, and of course colored them a little strange. So now NECA has given us a brand new version of this classic action figure. Let's check it out. Now, one of the things that NECA does an amazing job with when they do these homages is they don't just tribute the action figure, but they also pay tribute with their packaging. Look at this classic style Terminator 2 blister card, complete with the same original artwork at the top for the Power Armor Terminator. Now, I don't have a vintage Kenner carded version of this figure to show you, but just to put side by side with a vintage figure, I do have the Kenner White Hot T1000, and this is just to give you guys an idea of how the packaging is modeled after that original Kenner packaging. It's amazing. Even flipping it around to the backside, we've got a cross-sell showing off several other figures from NECA's Terminator line, including several of their Kenner tributes like the Endoglow Endoskeleton, which they released a few years ago, and the upcoming John Connor with the bike, which is amazing. I cannot wait. I just love the packaging, but let's go ahead and tear this open and get a closer look at the Terminator figure within. So we'll start with the measurements, where you can see that the figure stands right at 7 inches tall, and he is absolutely amazing. Because one of the things that I love that NECA does is when they tribute these Kenner figures, they use their amazing detail, their amazing sculpts, their likenesses to the actors, all the stuff that they're known for with their standard Terminator action figures, but then they make him look like that vintage Kenner action figure. So getting in real close here on the face, you can see that we do have a beautiful likeness to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you can see that we've got the T800 endoskeleton exposed within, and we've got this nice bloody mess all around it, which is definitely a bit of an upgrade from that vintage Kenner figure, because you definitely didn't see blood on those old toys. But I love the way it looks because it's got a nice gloss to all the blood, gives it a very shiny, very wet look. Even on the back, look, we've got a big hole in the back of his head, exposing a piece of the endoskeleton there as well. And all the details on the rest of the figure are amazing. He's wearing this leather jacket, this sleeveless leather jacket, by the way, which is what the vintage toy had. But you can see all the bullet holes in the back. He's got this amazing bandolier strapped to him with all the shells on there for his rifle that he's got, which is very, very cool. This, again, comes right off of that vintage toy. And he's wearing that signature pink shirt, which is what we saw on that Kenner figure. That's what I told you guys. Kenner always used some really bizarre colors, but man, that's what makes this guy feel so nostalgic. He's a really, really amazing looking figure. And of course, on the left arm, the thing that really makes him stand out, his power arm, he's got this amazingly detailed, what looks like a giant cannon for a left arm. This is very cool, and we've got some attachments that are going to make it look more like the one from the vintage Kenner figure. But before we get into that, why don't we break down the articulation on here so you know what to expect. So he is articulated at a ball joint on the neck. One thing I noticed is that it's pretty easy to pop the head off the ball joint. It's not a big deal though, because it does stay on just fine, but if you're moving it around and it pops off, don't worry, it's real easy to pop right back onto that ball joint there. Otherwise, we do have like the hinge-like ball joints at the shoulders. The arms can go upwards a bit of ways there, but they move forwards and backwards very nicely. We do have standard joints at the elbow. You can also swivel at the elbow, which is really nice. And we can swivel at the wrists there. You can see his power arm is articulated very similarly at the shoulder. We can also kind of swivel it a little bit there, but of course there's no elbow bend or anything since it's, well, just a giant gun. We can swivel him at the waist there. We do have really nice ball joints there at the thighs, so legs can go outwards. They can swivel at the thighs. They can move forwards and backwards. Great range of motion there. The knees are very tight on this guy, and you can see they did that great sculpting where the pants hide the knee joints. So you can bend the knees, and you can also swivel the knees. Real tight joints there, which is great. Will keep him standing. He does also have boot cut, even though he's wearing these pants, but again, it's hidden very well by the sculpt of all the wrinkles in his pants there, which is really nice. And then the ankles, look at that. We can roll them all around, move them forwards and backwards on a nice ball joint there. So this guy is actually really nicely articulated, and he's very sturdy action figure. He feels nice and solid. He doesn't feel brittle or breakable. I haven't had any problems with him yet. So let me show you all of these cool attachments. First of all, we've got the claw, which can plug right there into the front. Now this right here is a perfect recapturing of that vintage Kenner figure, and the claw is articulated. Look at that, so we can even open and close it. Doesn't move too far, but we can open and close it just a bit there. But that is really, really awesome. Really recreates that vintage Kenner look. But you can also remove that, and in its place you can pop in what looks like the head of a missile there, so that way you can make it like he's gonna launch a missile at his foes. Now, if for whatever reason you don't want this giant power arm, which I think is silly, but hey, you can always pop it off if you want to. You can actually remove it right from the socket there, and in its place, you can just plug in this alternate arm in the ball joint, and now you've got a T800 with standard arms. So that way, if you just want him to run around with two regular arms in his sweet sleeveless jacket, you can do just that. And finally, the last thing you've got to equip up your Power Arm Terminator is just that standard rifle that you would expect the T800 to be using there. So that could be held perfectly in his right hand. He's even got a nice trigger finger there that fits right on that rifle. So that way, if you need him to have both the power arm with the giant claw, plus you need him to have some firepower, well, hey man, you can arm him up with all of those things. So it's really solid, and he's got quite a few action features, which does a great job of being its own awesome figure, but also paying tribute to the original Kenner figure as well. I will say the only accessory that's missing that I kind of wish we had is the spike arm, because the original Kenner figure had the interchangeable arm for the arm side that had like the little spike that came out of the knuckles. That would have been really cool. But otherwise, I love what they did here. And while we're talking about that original figure, it's comparison time. So here is the brand new NECA Toys Power Arm Terminator standing alongside the vintage figure from Kenner. And it's pretty amazing looking at these two side by side. So you can really see the amazing detail on NECA's figure, but how at the same time they do such a wonderful job of paying tribute to the crazy colors and the overall design of that vintage Kenner figure that so many of us loved when we were growing up. So there you guys go. There is a look at the new Power Arm Kenner Tribute action figure from the folks at NECA Toys. Like I said in the beginning, and if you guys have been watching me for a long time, you already know, I'm a huge fan of the Kenner Tribute figures just because I love that era of toys, and I think NECA really nailed it with this particular version of Terminator. In fact, out of this entire Kenner Tribute wave of Terminator figures, this one right here is definitely the shining star as far as I'm concerned. If you are a fan of that original line, or you just like awesome Terminator figures from NECA, I would recommend picking this one up because he really adds something a little different to the table with that awesome arm attachment he's got going on there. Really makes him stand out from the rest of the T800s we already have, but also is a really great nod to that vintage toy line that kind of started it all for Terminator toys. Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, leave me a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more reviews just like this one. Until next time, my friends.